This conference will now be recorded.
Very good. So I now bring the select board meeting of Wednesday, June 2nd to order. In attendance, myself, Stephen Weiss, chair. John Weingold, you're here?
Remotely, yes.
Remotely, yes. Justin Maycook, you're here?
Yes, I am.
In a separate room. Okay, terrific. So let's dive right in, shall we?
Mickey Jervis is also here.
Hi, Mickey.
How you doing?
Okay, I don't. Are you Betty? I don't see a Mickey.
Caller 01.
Caller 01. Oh, I see. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. So we're going to jump in with town administrator items. Melissa.
Okay, sorry about that. So we had two items out for bid on Municibid, a 2000 Ford F550, which the high bid was $6,400, and a 9-foot stainless steel dump body, which received a high bid of $6,678. I just need the board to accept those so that we can proceed with the sale.
How many bids were there? Could you?
The truck received 35 bids and the dump body received 63.
Wow.
Yeah, we were a little surprised too.
So this is the highest. These two represent the highest bids for both these items.
Correct.
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the two highest bids for these items. Okay. And discussion. I should mention that this municipal program doesn't cost the town anything, so it's been a real, but yes, that's how we get the best prices on these items. Before we vote, does a public want to say anything about it besides yippee? No, yippee. Okay, I got a yippee. Great. So there'll be no more public discussion. I vote yes to accept both bids.
I vote yes.
And yes.
Unanimous. Next item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of 519 and the minutes of 526. So
Yes.
I understand the 526 minutes just arrived. So let's just talk about the 519 first. I see that many of us have made changes on them. That looks fine to me. So I would move to approval of the minutes of 519. You have a second?
Did anyone listen to the recording and compare the minutes to the recording?
I took a chance last night to, especially just with number 11, that's where I got my edits, was from listening to the recording. I didn't go through the whole meeting, but on number 11, I listened to the recording.
Okay.
And what were the edits to 11?
I wrote quite a bit. I edited quite a bit. My version pretty much of 11 is pretty much writing. It arguably goes into too much detail for minutes, but
it looks fine to me. I read it, Justin. I mean, it's fine. You know, in general, you know, it's always been easier for me to understand minutes about thinking about it if sometime in the future somebody were to read the minutes and get basically an understanding of what's going on. It's not a transcript of what's going on, but it's so that somebody will just generally, have an idea of what was discussed. So I think it looks fine. Do I get a second for approval of these minutes?
Melissa, you got my most recent copy that I sent, right? I'm pretty sure.
Yes.
All right, great. Then yes, I'll second.
Okay. Since they're minutes, we don't generally have public discussion on this, so I'm just going to go ahead vote. I vote yes.
Yes.
I'm voting no.
All right. So the next is the 319 letter of support. Is Dennis here?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Good evening.
Hey, Dennis.
Hello.
Hello.
So I sent you guys all the documents that Dennis had. There is a proposal that needs to be sent to Massachusetts Department of Environmental Conservation, an authorized signatory list, and a response form, and the EEOAA policy statement. So if you all had a chance to read them, if you have any questions for Dennis, otherwise I just need those approved for the chair to sign.
There should also be the statement of intent for the MBE, WBE, which is minority business, women business enterprise. That may have been attached to the economic opportunity. If that's not available, I can provide that. That's pretty standard for federal, as perhaps is known. In this particular case, 4.2% and 4.5% of the total project cost, which is projected at $236,000, would be required. And if that is not, attached in the information that I sent, I can provide it.
So are we talking the match amounts?
No.
The match amount is, we're proposing a 41%, which is 1% above the minimum required, match of $97,000.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe that that can be made up by 3 opportunities to do so. The first of which would be the MVP grant that was just finished for the culvert at Town Hall. The state permits state monies that were expended on a grant to be used in a federal project as a match. And that's approximately $20,000. And then we have the diver-assisted suction harvesting that the town has provided at the annual meeting. In fact, the last 2 annual meetings, that totals about $60,000. And then I've reached out to Sean regarding the Chapter 90 money, because the project would involve the replacement of a portion of Hoop High Road for the installation of the structural technology devices that are going to help to reduce the sediment coming off the road in runoff from bad weather and melting, and also pollutants that are contained on the sediment. So the bottom line here is that the town will not have to provide a cash match because of all the work that the town has done in the past on various projects and commitments to the annual removal of the Eurasian water milfoil.
It's interesting that they're going to allow us to use the $30,000 towards a road project. It's interesting.
Well, yeah, the 30, because one of the designations that the state has put on the ponds and lakes is when there's an excessive amount of, and in this case, Eurasian water milfoil, referred to as simply milfoil, That particular characteristic or descriptor is one of the reasons that a lake or a pond gets prioritized. In our particular case, we also have phosphorus. So all the work that the town has committed to doing for the removal of the weeds, milfoil, we are informed that they can be used, that those dollars can be used as the local match.
Okay, terrific. So, so this letter of support that we're going to be approving today, that the document that's missing is just something that you can produce, or we're going to have to sign that as well?
Yeah, exactly. I can send that over to Melissa. In fact, I'll do so as the meeting progresses here. It's a standard document that follows, grants for federally related grants.
Okay, great.
It's a very short document.
Where are we what phase are we in with the 79K?
With the 79K.
Yeah, I mean, this is just one of the tranches. This is one. Are we in like phase 2, planning and engineering, and then the big town commitment comes when it's approved, right?
If you're referring to the 319 or the Covert grant, yeah, the 79,000, I believe, was the Covert grant. So we're in phase 2 of that. We just completed phase 2,
right?
And that has been submitted as part of a previous grant application that was approved for submission by the select board. And we're waiting to hear from the state. They'll probably let us know at the end of the summer, beginning of the fall, if we were successful. You may recall that particular grant application had no local match required. And if we're lucky enough to get selected, then that would permit us to do permitting and also final design of the culvert. And that would be phase 3. That would be probably in at least the application in 2022.
Okay.
Okay. Good. So I would like to make a motion to approve the 319 letter of support.
Second.
Any discussion from the public? I think Dennis gave a pretty good description of what's going on over here. This is great stuff for this town. I mean, we're really being proactive here. So there being no discussion from the public, I vote yes.
I vote yes.
And yes.
Okay, so it's unanimous. Good job, Dennis. And if you could obviously send over that one other page, that would be helpful.
Sure, I'll do that immediately. Thank you.
Okay.
Good evening.
Thank you.
You
Number 4, review mail. Melissa, mail and correspondence to be sent or signed?
Nope, we don't have any.
Okay. Okay, number 5, we're going to continue the discussion on the select board rules, policies, and procedures draft. Everybody is tuned in.
I just sent an electronic version of the edited copy to everybody.
I have that.
So wait, so okay. So is everybody prepared to have this discussion, or would you like to, if we just got the electronic version of it? Somebody can tell me where we left off.
Well, Melissa, these edits that I sent in are new. These are all new edits, right? To my understanding.
That's correct.
I don't think we've discussed any of my track changes yet, Steve.
Okay.
In terms of where we left off with the general discussion that we were having a couple meetings ago. I'm not sure exactly where that was, but I've made a number of track changes that are new that we haven't seen yet.
Okay, yeah, this is all coming in black and white, so I'm not, I can't see where whose edits they are.
Is it possible to pull up the screen share?
Yes, just give me 2 seconds.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Why is it we can't share this document 2 days before?
As I explained before, John, it would be me acting, you would be using me as a mediator, excuse me, I can't speak tonight, to share others' opinions, and I'm not allowed to do that, and I wouldn't want the others to suffer an open meeting law violation if I did.
Well, I think sharing documents to be discussed is an exemption to the open meeting law violation.
So it's not, I've already checked with them if there's any sort of opinion being expressed in it. And if Justin has made, severe edits to the document, he's expressing opinions.
No, I don't know about that. I'll find out.
It is tough. I wish there's some way that we could introduce it at the meeting, but it's a difficult situation, it seems to me.
There are some there's some stumbling blocks with the open meeting law. This is one of them.
Well,
All right, so Melissa's going to try to put this up on the agenda, or up on the screen. Sorry about that. Okay, yeah, because I don't know which edit, whose edits are who. Want to try to get some of these other things out of the way first, or shall we wait?
I've got my copy. I can see the
I
red
do have
line.
I have my copy as well, I think. It's draft 3, right?
Yes, I think so. Okay, so, all right.
Oh, here it is on the screen.
Oh, there it is.
So I see a couple of my changes first. So I removed all of these words and phrases right under select board roles, policies, and procedures, just because I thought that they were covered under select board responsibilities in more detail in a way that is more helpful to someone who's trying to understand what the select board is doing. For example, set outcomes, evaluate impacts. It's my understanding the select board does those kinds of things. I just think they're laid out in more detail in a way that's more accurate to the job in the section below select board responsibilities.
I don't agree. I think that should be left in there. So the introduction paragraph, I mean, it spells out the overall general roles, policies, and procedures, and then it specifically says responsibilities. I mean, I don't think it's covering both things. I don't know.
So what is evaluate impacts and measure performance? To me, those phrases seem very vague, and review agenda. I'm not sure what that's telling me about what the select board actually does. Whose impacts are they evaluating? What performance are they measuring? It just seems like in select board responsibilities, it talks about working with other elected committees, commissions, and boards. The town administrator is more, to me, I mean, I'm open to the idea that not everything's covered in the next section, but.
Well, these were copied from another town, so this is just an outline, a guideline, I would say. But we do manage and strategic planning we're supposed to be doing. We're supposed to set policies and future direction of the towns. Evaluate impacts. I would imagine that's dealing with financial impacts, maybe. I don't know. Measure performance. We are supposed to be measuring, appointees of performance, department heads' performance,
So I would just say that in the next section, for example, number 13 is set policy and strategic direction. And, number 7 is create general rules and regulations for town operations. So it seems to me the next section just takes those on in more detail, but if it's a good way to introduce the document as a whole and things more broadly, then I'm happy to leave it in too. There's no problem with that.
All right. Why did you strike out government by committee?
I don't think it's wrong. I just think it's not related to coordinates with other town elected committees. I think the board within itself operates as a board, but that's separate from the idea that the board operates in coordination with other boards. It seems to me to be two separate concepts.
Well, then why don't we?
I mean, we could move it down and make it another number.
I would definitely do that if that's one of the tenets of Massachusetts law.
And maybe something more practical, like governs as a board of 3 people or something, instead of maybe government by committee gets what's across what needs to be gotten across. The reason I had it striked out is not because I don't think it's true, but just because I didn't think it's related to what comes before the comma.
Right. All right. Maybe we'll find another place for that.
Well, we could just make it point number 3 and then move everything down. I'm happy with that.
Okay. Right.
On number 8, I said I changed conduct annual review of town administrator just to oversee town administrator, including conducting an annual review, because it seems like there should be a pretty close relationship there that happens more than just once a year, but is kind of more constant. But it does include, importantly, an annual review, but is not limited to that.
Right. So I was going to add, like, including but not limited to conducting an annual review.
Mm-hmm.
But it stayed the same way, including.
You think oversee is oversee?
What word would you use, John?
Supervise, isn't it?
I guess I don't see as a significant distinction between those two words, but just at first glance.
Yeah, because I believe that well, I mean, we can go into splitting hairs here, but supervision denotes more of a closer watch on the town administrator. Oversee. I mean, I guess the idea is the town administrator is guided by their job description, and we're overseeing that those items in the job description are being done. So I have no problem with the word overseeing. What else you got?
I struck participate in the preparation of budget with finance committee and town administrator, and I just changed it to prepare budget to be presented at town meeting in coordination with finance committee and town administrator. I also know that there's two articles at the continued town meeting that could drastically change this item, so maybe it's worth holding off on to see how the town votes on those items.
Okay.
Well, what about 10, select board appointments? Why was that stricken out? But we have to do that.
Just because earlier on, if you scroll up, um, there was number 3 is appointing authority for boards, committees, assignments, employees. That's the only reason I struck that.
Well, that just means we're the appointing authority, but it should say select board annual appointments. That's what it should say. Well,
I think, yeah, I'm happy to rework. I mean, I'm very open to reworking the wording. I just think it could probably all be under one number instead of split.
Yeah, that's it says the same thing as number 10, number 3 and number 10 say the same thing. So
doesn't. No,
What's
one
the
says
difference?
the authority, the other one says we appoint people annually.
I don't
But
see
can't,
the word annually in either one of them.
Well, it should be select board annual appointments.
Well, but we appoint people. We also appoint people during the course of the year. So it's not just annually.
well, I'd be happy to add, annual appointments as well as other positions throughout the year, because it is true. It seems that most appointments happen all at once,
Right.
with the turn of the year.
But not all of them. I think
Agreed.
we're right on the money. I've got no problem with 3. Okay, where else? Let's continue.
Number 19, I just changed establishing free cash to governing use of free cash, and I said on 19 and 20 in coordination with finance committee, because I thought that the finance committee should be involved in those processes.
Right. We don't. So governing the use of free cash is tricky. We don't actually. I mean, obviously, this is the we generally develop a policy on the use of free cash, but that can be changed by members of the town at an annual town meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So so that's why I would probably have something like establishing policy with regard to free cash,
Mm-hmm.
or something like that, because it may not also be the use of free cash our policy. It may be we also have a policy of when we're not using it. So in the free cash limits. So we're not just establishing policy based on its use, but sometimes based on its preservation. So I would just make it kind of a general. I would make it more of a general thing where we're establishing a policy with regard to free cash, and then the other ones holding tax classification hearings in coordination with the finance committee.
Yeah, I think that gets the right point across, Steve.
Okay.
Which you're 19.
Okay, so if we can change that. I'm sorry. We have somebody in the.
Susan.
We have Susan with her hand up. Sorry, Susan.
Give me a sec. Can you hear me now? Yeah, okay. I just wanted to chime in that I actually agree with John that saying you're the appointing authority and actually saying that you need to appoint aren't the same thing. Maybe they ought to be, but I don't really think they are. So I think it is worth saying, I know this goes back for a few minutes, but to say that you are the appointing authority is reasonable, but then it needs to say something about, that one of your responsibilities is to participate in any annual appointments. But I'm not sure what the language would be. There are occasionally other appointments, right? Like you might have to make an interim appointment if someone were to resign midterm. that happened on the zoning board where someone left and I was an interim appointee at one point. And I think it's happened on other boards.
Mhm.
So, but I do think those should be separate agenda items. Or not agenda items, separate items on this.
Okay.
Since we're having some input, may I go back to the budget a little bit? This is Mickey.
What number, 16?
I'm not seeing it, so we'll go with whatever number you say it is. But the select board forms the budget with input from the appropriate boards and committees.
Right.
So you just don't make up the numbers on your own. They are handed to you by such as the library trustees. We may tell you what our budget needs to be, and then it is discussed. So you don't start that.
Right.
And I didn't hear that input was in there.
Right. Was that? Are we missing? Good point, Mickey. Are we missing that? Is that in another? Is that on another listed item?
I think it's 16 on my
Yeah,
document.
I know she's talking about 16, but I'm saying that is there another one that actually does address the fact that the select board participates with other receives input from other boards and committees, to prepare a budget in coordination with the finance committee. Is there something like that in there?
Number 25 or the old number 24 talks about meeting with other boards, but it doesn't talk specifically about meeting with other boards in relation to the budget process.
So maybe we should.
I still think anything about the budget should be held off until the June 12th meeting, just because of those two articles, which could drastically affect how the budget is done in Monterey.
How is it? No,
Well,
I'm going to disagree with that characterization, but any normal budget, the executive prepares the budget from the departments, combines it all, puts it in a document and presents it to the finance committee to work on the budget. I don't see we don't prepare the budget. The department heads do, and they present it to us, and then we give it to the finance committee. So I don't know what we're preparing a budget to present it at town meeting. We don't present the budget at town meeting. The finance committee does.
Okay. All right. So, but we're talking about here in number 16. Then we should probably add then prepare budget in coordination with town boards and committees to be coordinated with and presented at town meeting, and then we could and then we can make the modifications if that changes at the second annual town meeting. But I think we should add in Mickey's suggestion that at least that it's done in coordination with and with input from the various town boards and committees, because it's not identified anywhere else on this list. I hear crickets. Okay.
Well, provide leadership in the development of the capital improvement plan program.
So
monitor financial performance of the town. Isn't that what the finance committee's there for?
So that's also what the select board is there for. There are a few committees and boards that monitor the financial performance of the town. I know that the select board is one of them. So it should be up here on this list.
I missed that in the selectmen's handbook. I didn't see that.
Well, actually, so this COVID business provides a very concrete example of that. When we were trying to make policy suggestions for the town as a select board, one of the first things that I did was talk to the tax collector to determine what if any was the impact upon COVID with our receipts. That the finance committee should be doing that as well, but it is also part of the select board. You can't make a policy if you don't know what's going on in the town. So it was a very helpful several discussions with the tax collector.
Some of these policies, weren't they? Is this some of the DLS recommendations? We were supposed to adopt some financial policies, weren't we?
Are we gonna let's try to go through these policies as are written on the paper.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's just sounding familiar.
I can answer that, Steve. I think we answered it at the last meeting when John asked that they're in progress and there's about 5 more chapters to be done.
Oh, the financial. Okay, good. They're in progress. Excellent. Let's continue. Justin, which was the next one?
I think it was about the select board chair. It said in there the person serving in their last year. It's actually on the next subject. Next. That's my next one. Yeah. I just changed historically the person in their last year to historically is the person in the third year of his or her 3-year term. I just think it's more clear to what we're trying to say.
Okay. Okay, great.
What is the coordinating and annual evaluation of the town administrator? What does that mean?
What are we talking about? From where?
Officers of the board, the chair. Who's doing the annual evaluation? Just the chair or everybody?
No, coordinating generally means affixing a time and date when an annual evaluation should take place.
Why doesn't it say that? Should say that. Coordinating a date.
Well, that's what coordinating means. I mean, it doesn't mean anything else. It says coordinating an annual evaluation of a town administrator. I mean, I think it's perfectly self-evident.
I don't.
Maybe it would be cleared up if it just said by the board.
Right.
Just to clarify that the whole board is doing it. And I understand what you're saying, Steve. I think I think that's how most people would interpret it. I don't think it hurts to add by the board, just to emphasize that the whole board is doing the review and the chair is setting up the
of the town administrator by the entire board.
by
the board. Okay, fine. But by the board after. It's fine. Okay. So, regular meetings, there's no changes on. And
well, while we're on the topic of regular meetings, what is the official town posting? Is it the website or the bulletin board? Because the AG's office seems to think it's the website. Melissa? Hello?
I don't know what
Sorry, I will find that out for you and get it for the next meeting.
Good.
Because it is the website. I think it should say regular meetings are posted with proper notice on the town's website.
Well, let's get a ruling from the AG then, and then we'll know.
I think we already have a ruling from the AG's office. Not a ruling, but didn't John Silbert send an email out to everybody saying that?
He did, but I'd like to verify that.
So John's a smart guy, but he's not the Attorney General. So I'd like to get it from the Attorney General.
Well, I got the Attorney General's website, and it says Monterey. The official site is http www.montereymass. It was adopted 2/23/2015. So That's all. If it is that, I would like that in the regular, it should be posted on the website so we don't have these continual issues of lack of notice and all that.
I would prefer not to put it in this document just in case it changes. This document would need to continually be changing, but maybe it will stay that way long enough that it's worth having in there.
So let's move on. Number 5, meeting participants. You made some changes here, Justin.
Yes. I removed no demonstrations or signs will be allowed in the meeting room because John Silver brought up at the meeting that we talked about this last, that may be a First Amendment issue. And I think whether or not it is a First Amendment issue, I think it's safe to keep it out of there. And I think what stays in its place should be sufficient to deal with anything that is truly disrupting the meeting.
Okay, that's fine. Carrying the agenda. Number 2, you had some changes.
Yes, this is about agenda items being received within 48 hours of the meeting. I think I love to receive agenda items, you know, when it's appropriate, when I have time to look over them. But I think on occasion, there may be an important document that comes in a day before or something else reasonable, where the board does have time to review it and it makes more sense to review it at that meeting than setting up another meeting or an emergency meeting or something else of that nature.
Right.
And I think, you know, the emphasis should be on trying to get documents out as early as possible, but I think it may sometimes be the case that that can't happen, but it's still worth talking about at the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so this is interesting. So on number 4, you crossed out for approval of licenses. You crossed out applicant is strongly encouraged to appear.
I just changed more or less strongly urged to encouraged.
Oh, encouraged. Okay, applicant.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. Yes. Okay. Fine.
So citizen speaking procedures, the significant things that I did are removed you can see what I removed. And I thought it's generalized accusations and innuendos are not desirable, but at the same time, I don't think it needs to be in this document that they shouldn't be given weight. And same thing, I think people speaking for other people is not appropriate, but I think that's intuitive. I don't think it needs to be in here necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
I think number 4, talks more about a citizen speak period, which is not something that we participate in necessarily, or not something that we practice.
You talk about the paragraph. You have citizen speak procedures, but you were talking about item number 1, number 2,
4.
We're talking about item number 4, but the number 4 I have is about press.
Not mine.
Okay, that's, I think. No.
Um,
No. I'm sorry. I got the wrong. I'm sorry. My fault. Yep. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong page.
Yeah, I just think that the way that we've been doing it, and if we want to change it, we can, but the way that we've been doing it, and it's been being done before, is more that the public comments as issues come up. And the chair has discretion to acknowledge members of the public, and clearly we have our own rule that we've been following about allowing the public to speak before before we vote. But we don't have this citizen speak procedure at the end of the meeting, similar to, I think, what's being talked more about here than how we practice.
Gotcha. Okay. Fine. It's weird that, okay, town administrative evaluations, annual evaluation, no later than year end. So this is interesting. Evaluation of a town administrator. So they're talking about end of the year, even though we're on a fiscal year.
Should be fiscal year.
I mean, that's generally when we do our evaluations. We work on a fiscal year, not a calendar year.
No, we actually work on a calendar year when we do the evaluations, and that's so that when the departments make their recommendations for raises, if they happen, it can coincide with the budgeting season. Also, you have a new selectman usually coming in May, so if you did them at the end or at the beginning of the fiscal year, you might have someone that wouldn't be able to give any input because they'd only be a select person for 2 months.
You got a text from Becky Fong Hughes. Read it or ignore it.
I would vote ignore it.
You got a text from Becky Fong Hughes.
All right, so is this okay? So that's actually a very good point. I'll be sure to note this on your evaluation, Melissa. So no later than year end. That's fine with me. We can do it. We can fix a time to do that, which will be interesting, to say the least. Okay. Select board response, received communications. I don't see any changes.
I deleted a whole section about email. I think that's the next one. And I thought that this wasn't necessary for this document.
Okay, I can see where they're going with this. But none of these items should be, whether they're emailed or spoken, should have any business in the select board to begin with. So yeah, I've got no problem taking that whole thing out.
Well, I don't know.
What's that, John?
You were taking a lot of things out. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I know it seems, self-evident, but to everyone present, but maybe not. I mean, I don't, that's why they put these things in there, because there's situations where people just, sometimes think you can do that. So, I mean, taking it out,
I think there's
there.
other ways to prevent them from doing those things in this document, though, right? If someone does something illegal, they can be, brought through the legal system, I'd imagine.
Well, you guys do, whatever you think is proper, that's okay with me, I guess. I just don't think taking whole, sections out is a good idea, but.
Well, anyway. I almost want to retitle that "email shall not be used for," instead of saying that if this is about select board members shall not be conducting activities such as such as all of these. But again, I mean, I think it's self-evident that we shouldn't be doing any of this stuff.
Right. You would think.
So there we go. So let's cut it out. This is a living document. If we need to put things back in, we can put things back in, or we can write some more. Executive sessions. That's no. problem.
Oh, so I did remove something from executive sessions. I don't know the legality of it, but I thought that if it was legal, it may sometimes occasionally make sense to have auto recording of executive session.
Well, the meetings are supposed to be recorded.
All right, so that falls, so that I would need a ruling by the Attorney General on, because that really is, that falls under the purview of the open meeting law.
Yeah, I think you're right. If it's illegal, then
Um,
I don't want to be doing something illegal. But if
Yeah,
the case I foresaw, I guess, is if there was a personnel issue and we had an audio recording of the meeting and they claimed that we said something that we didn't say,
Right.
or something of that nature, then we would have proof. So it wouldn't be he said, she said. It could be.
So we're gonna put that down as one of the things that we're going to check with the Attorney General to make sure that we follow their guidance. What's the last one? To amend rules.
Can
So
we
these-
just, excuse me, can we just go up to number 6 above executive session where it says communication amongst board members? The next sentence says the only exception to this would be communication allowed under the Massachusetts Open Meeting Law. Distribution of a meeting agenda is exempted. Scheduling or procedural information is exempted, or reports or documents that may be discussed at a meeting. So wouldn't that be covering these edited documents? He's not expressing,
No, no.
I think this is great, but any document or report that is edited should be
So if
given
you,
to another select board member before we discuss it.
right, so if you continue reading that sentence, actually, it says,
Expresses an opinion on matters within the board's. He's not expressing an opinion. He's just he's editing a document that we're going to discuss.
but you're
He's not
expressing your,
saying, I think these are great or this is bad. He's
Nope.
just editing it.
well,
That should be shared.
So therein lies the distinction, because if you are making an edit on your own, you are providing an opinion of what you believe should be on there. And unfortunately, it could be construed as an opinion, so that it would be against the open meeting law. Somebody could file something.
I'm going to contact the Open Meeting Law Division and find out what their opinion is.
Okay.
Because it seems a little restrictive to me.
All right. Tell Mary I say hi.
Who's Mary?
At the open meeting law group over there.
Oh.
Okay, terrific. So I think we've gone through most of this. Let's produce it in a
Is there a part in here about contacting the lawyer?
No, there's not, because we have a separate policy about contacting town council that was sent to you all again as a reminder last week.
I thought we voted on that on the 19th.
Wasn't there one part, Melissa, though, where this mentioned, I think it was this document mentioned
It was.
mentioned town council, but is it something I removed?
I don't recall. I would have to go back to the original document. There's been quite a few edits since the original.
A number of things that I removed, I guess. I do remember that it was brought up in here, John.
Yeah, it was. And I thought we voted on it. But I guess that's one of the other agenda items later on. Because I think, that should. Okay.
Okay, hi, Susan.
Oh, I found it. It's in number 27 of that first list. It's the last thing on the first list. It says, when access to legal counsel is necessary, the chair or board member shall communicate through the town administrator and/or chair. In the event that the required legal advice is related to contract negotiations with or the performance of the TA, all communications shall be through the chair.
That's not what the policy should be. You know, no, I thought we talked about this. All
What
select
it,
board members can contact town council, and all chairs of any committee or commission after a vote by their boards can contact town council for a legal opinion. I thought we agreed to that.
John, I don't think that second point is relevant to this document necessarily, because this is about how the select board contacts town council. But
Well,
we did change the document to reflect that the chair could contact town council. I brought up a couple points, like if the TA is away on vacation or something, the chair should absolutely have access to town council.
that can't be the policy for a town. There's no way that every legal communication runs through the town administrator or the chair of the select board. It's just not, it's not workable. It's not doable. And we agree that that's why the minutes don't reflect even the vote that we took on this issue. I mean, if you guys are going to put and leave this in the document where the select board, the executive branch of government, cannot contact legal counsel, I mean, what's the point?
Well, it's my understanding, John, that this document doesn't speak to what other committees or boards or commissions could do.
Of course not.
Okay, so that point I don't think is going to be spoken about here. Your point is that everyone on the select board, all three members, should have direct access to town council.
Absolutely. So I'm making a motion that we change number 27 to read that all select board members can contact town council for a legal opinion, and that legal opinion should be in writing to the entire select board.
I thought we agreed that it has to be in writing. We already agreed to this.
No, we didn't. This is not what the document says. I'm not going to give permission, and I'm not going to run my legal opinions through you or any other chair or the town administrator if I need a legal opinion on something involving the town. That's just ridiculous. No attorney would even, it's just not workable.
I do think that
with everything being, legal consequences to everything, you need access to the town council.
It's been done this way on many boards past, and it's worked out just fine. And if there's a specific thing that a specific board member would like to talk to town council, no one has said no.
Oh, really?
But in general, there was a policy put in place so that town council was not inundated with especially answering questions that may be answered by town administrator.
I think
Do I have a second for my motion?
why are we making a motion on this one with other edits were talked about more without making motions?
Because we just agreed to your additions, but this is a rewrite of 27. That cannot be the policy.
27, as we're currently seeing it, reflects how I edited it to read, I believe.
Right, and I'm fine with it.
No, it's not stricken out.
What's that, John?
It's not redlined in my document.
No, because the track changes don't go back further than when I made those initial changes, because the policy initially read that all that did not include the chair could only, in the case where it concerned the town administrator. I changed that. I'm open to changing it to all select board members. I totally understand the point that not everyone who works for the town should be contacting town council. I totally get that point. That's tens of people, maybe it's a lot of people, but the 3 people on the select board is not too many people, I don't think. And if it's too much for the town council, maybe we should be able to have more funding for town council.
So we're going to change the wording.
I
without
would
a
like
motion.
it. I would like it if each select board member could contact town council, I guess.
That's fine. Okay, I agree. Let's move on. We can
So are
change
we
it.
changing the wording? I know you agree, but are we changing the wording in the document? And what is the wording going to say?
Yeah, I'll edit. I'll edit it. Like when we've been going through tonight, I've been putting my edits in for the next time that we discuss it.
Okay.
I'll edit it.
Okay, good. Let's continue. All right, so it's 7 o'clock, John Weingold. I see that you've added 17 agenda items on the agenda. Actually, I'd like to talk about that since we're talking about policies and procedures. Does the board think it's fair and reasonable that, I mean, if somebody wanted to put 17 things on the agenda, that it's fair and reasonable to do so? I believe that we should actually have a general guideline where it's maybe five agenda items per board member. Not to give any board member more agenda items than the other, but the idea that, if somebody wants to put in so many of these items, we're going to be here all night, and to discuss things that may or may not be germane to how we conduct business here in town. And I don't think it's fair to the public either, especially for beginning at 6 p.m. You don't want to go into 9 p.m. With a meeting because one particular member decided they were going to add, 17 items. So, but Justin, yeah.
I will say that he doesn't have to compete with you or I, Steve, because we didn't add anything to this agenda. And I don't think we're not reasonably going to discuss all these in depth, but we've had no problem tabling the remaining agenda before and for the next meeting, and I don't think we will now. Putting this many items on probably means we won't get a chance to research each one in depth before coming to the meeting, but I will credit John for actually putting things on the agenda to discuss. I think it's good for the select board, and it takes time and it's difficult, but it's not work time. At least I wouldn't be at work otherwise, and most people wouldn't. And so,
Okay.
it's select board time. I'm willing to dedicate time to the select board. I think it's important.
Okay, then let's start discussing, shall we? Number 6.
Yeah, I think that the GoToMeeting platform provides transcripts for free, and I think all it takes is the click of a button, and every select board member gets a copy of the transcript, and if they want to review the transcript or the recording, whatever they want, but we have no access now. And to produce accurate minutes from memory, when we have a free service provided by the platform, and the recording should be accessible by the board. I don't even understand why this isn't being done.
So you're saying that like my GoToMeeting platform that I'm working on right now, if I click a button somewhere, I would get a transcript?
Well, Melissa would get a transcript and then she could distribute it to all the board. It's for free.
But what was, I mean, no.
Because then when the minutes are produced, Justin's not, if I don't remember something that was said, you could go to the transcript.
So
And
wouldn't this have to be something that all boards would have to participate in, not just the select board?
well, we're just talking about the select board right now.
I will say that I was watching the video, and thank you, Melissa, been sharing the videos with me if ever I requested them, which helps me go through the minutes to put my touch on them. And that's helpful. If the transcript is easy to do, if that is truly the case, that would probably be helpful too, because even with Fiber Connect, that video is taking a long time to load last night, and it was very difficult to do. and a transcript would be searchable. I don't think those automatically generated transcripts are going to be great, but it might even be something just for the board to consider if you had thoughts on the minutes.
Right, exactly.
I also know some interested citizens have been emailing Melissa for the recordings, and maybe they could be, maybe to make it easier on her, they could just be posted with the minutes. I'm not sure if that would make it easier on her, but maybe instead of having individual people consistently ask for the recordings all the time, they could just be on the website if we want to do that.
Exactly. Exactly. Make life easier for everyone, I think. So that, anyone have any input?
Are any towns currently doing this?
Yeah, Egremont posts their minutes on the website that you can just click on yeah, they do.
They post
Yes, they do.
They post a transcript on the minutes on their website. Just the minutes.
No, it's a transcript of what's said at the meetings.
Egremont posts a transcript of what is said at the meeting.
No, Steve, Egremont posts the entire recordings on their website. You don't have to call the town administrator or the select board to find out where the minutes are and send them a copy.
Really?
They post them on the thing. Anybody can go. You can go. Egremont, they can go on the website. We don't do that. You have to call or email. They should just be on the website. Why are we being? They should just be accessible. Period.
I tell you that one of the reasons why, John, and I understand that you haven't been on the board when we were having in-person meetings, but sometimes folks come to the select board meetings to discuss things, and they don't generally want their discussions just to be complete out there in the public, and that's why generally we've been doing minutes. We do minutes, but the idea that everybody that's that appears in front of the select board, whether it's in person or it's over this mechanism over here, a lot of people don't want to their appearance to be memorialized, and it prevents people from actually participating or coming to us with problems or concerns or suggestions that they may have. Now, we're lucky to have some individuals in town that don't mind that, but others do, and that's the reason why most of these towns do not send out that type of information. It's not for a lack of transparency, but it's to kind of preserve this informality that we have when we're talking to our citizens.
Well, I think it's a public meeting. If you show up to a public meeting and you don't want your, then don't show up to that's not a good argument for not doing that. I just,
Scott,
anybody?
Susan, you're muted.
Still muted.
Okay, sorry, it didn't want to let me. Two things. First of all, I just checked the Egremont website. The only thing they've got posted for availability is meeting minutes. There's no transcript. That's item one. Item two is, why don't you guys try the transcript and keep it among the board and see what you think of the transcript? And if it's useful, that gives you a chance to wrestle with it to see if it, first of all, do you think it's a good representation of what was said? Because I've seen some pretty bad transcription programs, as Justin mentioned, but sometimes it's very useful. And to decide if, that gives you the opportunity to decide whether that gets put up on the website or not. But why don't you first see what you think of the transcript and how helpful it is to you when trying to check, over the minutes and see if you like the way they're presented, because it's a lot quicker to scan a document than to review video for sure. And you may find that you do like having it, and then you can have a secondary discussion about what you want for the availability of that document, but at least try it. There's no downside to trying it on the board, is there?
No, and I think maybe I confused the issue. I don't want to post the transcripts. The transcripts should be sent to the select board before the minutes are approved. But the recordings of the meetings, the video, should be posted on the website so anyone can see it. That's what I'm trying to do here. I'm not trying to post transcripts on the website. I just want the videos of the meetings on the website for everyone to see. And then the transcripts go to the select board so we can look at it to compare it to the minutes. That's all.
I've got no problem looking at these transcripts and seeing how they work, but I don't like the idea of posting these videos online.
Can I say something? This is Emily Johnson.
Sure, Emily. Oh, well, Nancy had her hand up, but Nancy.
Go ahead.
Okay,
Emily could go first, and I'll go after.
Okay.
I'm on my phone, so I don't know where the raise the hand is.
Go ahead.
For one, if somebody comes into the meeting to ask questions, their name and what they talked about should be in the minutes anyways. If they're not in the minutes are incorrect.
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
And two, I get the recordings. I download them, upload them to YouTube so people can see them on YouTube and on Facebook. It's very easy. And a lot of people watch them. They want to know what's going on.
Great.
Thank you.
So, select board members, don't the general population have a right to see the recordings?
I say yes.
They live in the town, even the general population?
Of course.
I wouldn't go so far as to say a right. I mean, before COVID, there was no recordings of the meetings, but since
There actually were audio.
There actually were recordings before.
there was no video recording, to my knowledge, that I know of.
There was some videos, as well as they have every right to view the minutes as well. So make it easier on Melissa and just post them on there. But also, I noticed when you get the GoToMeeting recordings, the tab to download has been removed, and you should be able to download it easily. Sometimes I know another way of downloading it so that way they are permanently saved, because I'm not sure if you're aware, Justin, the recordings are only for 90 days, and then after that.
The link that I got most recently had a download link.
Okay, good.
And I started downloading it.
I have gotten some that didn't have a download link, so
I started downloading it, but it was going to take 4 hours, and I didn't want to leave my computer on for 4 hours. So, with Fiber Connect.
I think we should post everything that is possible on the town website so the residents can see it. You don't have to post these transcripts, but eventually those transcripts will be reviewed by the select board and become minutes, correct?
No, I will not like to do that.
They would be used to verify the minutes.
So it's going to be used to verify? Okay.
It's hard enough to go through 2 pages of minutes and verify the accuracy, let alone a 15-page transcript every meeting. I think that's I don't think that's a fair request, especially if there's a video or audio recording of the meeting. I think improving the transcripts would be ridiculous.
So you either read through a 15-page transcript or you review a 2-hour video to verify the minutes. What's the difference, right? If you're not sure.
I'm not gonna watch the video unless I think there's a point of the meeting where there's something that interests me, but I will know that the video is correct, because video and audio can be recorded as they're spoken. Transcripts can sometimes misrepresent what was said, and reading through to add punctuation and change spellings and homophones, and that is much harder than referring to a 2-hour video when you have but knowing what part of the video you need to look at when you're going through the minutes to approve the minutes.
I think having both is a good thing.
How is it done with Concom? Are these minutes, are you doing recordings?
So what we've done with the Concom is we've actually had some things transcribed that I myself and Jeremy have personally paid for to have the minutes transcribed. And right now we have the agent taking notes, and we also have all the meetings recorded.
How's she doing about it?
We don't use the GoToMeeting platform because it's much more difficult to operate than Zoom. Zoom is much better. So
Well, that's at the bottom of number 6.
yeah, that's why we're using Zoom, in fact, and the agent is doing all the minutes. Of course, all the minutes have to be approved by the entire board. And we have used the transcription service before.
Okay. Anybody else?
So we're gonna.
I have one other thing, if it's okay.
Yes.
So John said, or Justin said, multiple people have been asking for the videos. Now, through open meeting law, if multiple people are asking for things, it's supposed to be on the website. So you might want to check that too.
That's interesting.
So do I have to
I
make
think
a
I said,
I'd love to get that language from the Attorney General on that.
frankly, I think I said that interested citizens have been asking for the videos, or that's what I meant to say. I don't actually know that I know of multiple people who have asked for the videos.
Right.
I do.
Emily is correct, Steve, but I would ask you to define what multiple is, because there's only 2 that have been requesting from me.
But they're also not on the minutes that you've been recording, so people may not know that you're recording the meetings.
All right, can we just get these 2 things taken care of before we?
I would make a motion.
I'm going to make a motion that the GoToMeeting transcripts be circulated to the select board members, and that all GoToMeeting videos of public meetings by the select board be posted to the town website with a link.
I would break your motion into 2 motions. That would be
So you want to amend it? Well, then amend it.
I move to amend it to the first discuss the first item, which is getting a transcript to the select board.
Second on the amendment. I second his request to amend the motion.
Okay, so the request is amended so that we are just going to vote on whether or not to have a transcript sent of the meeting to the select board for review.
If you want to or not.
I'm sorry.
Are you calling a vote?
Yes. Okay. So that's the modified amendment. Is that, I guess, second?
He seconded it. Justin seconded it.
Okay. So all in favor?
My vote is yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'll look at the transcript.
And the second motion is to post all GoToMeeting recordings of select board meetings to the town website with an accessible link for the public. Do I have a second?
Second.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be doing this or you, Steve.
What? No. Okay. Sorry. So now we're gonna have we'll have a little discussion. Let me chime in here. I think I don't like it. I don't like it, quite frankly, and it's not because I don't want to be transparent. But again, I think I've sat at this table a lot of times where some people have come in to talk to the board, and I can't imagine that they would want their discussion posted in video link. Now I can understand if it's accessible, it should be accessible for folks that have a specific question and want to come into town hall. but turning the select board into, a reality show is even though it already is pretty much. I don't know. I don't like it. So
I think it's more similar to C-SPAN than a reality show,
yeah, probably.
personally. But
I think
and
I agree, Justin. I agree with that.
I would say, since Emily is already asking for the recordings and posting them on YouTube, I don't think this is any different, except it allows more broad access more easily.
Let me cite a weird example, but it's an example that sticks in my head. We had a number of years ago, we had somebody that had a problem with a neighbor's property, and they came in to the select board to discuss it because they had tried other avenues to get it resolved and didn't want to turn it into anything that was legal, but wanted the board members to see if they could do anything about it. We actually counseled them to we put them together with the director of operations. We made a few suggestions on how to take care of it. But this person I know would not want to be videotaped. I know I'm showing my age when I'm calling it videotape, recorded and and splashed across the across the website. It's there are some sensitive topics that people do come in. I understand it's a public meeting and anybody who's there is going to be able to listen in on it. But it's not just all very cut and dried. So I'm just putting that out there.
Then you didn't put it in the minutes, because what's talked about in a meeting should be in the minutes.
Actually, I believe what we did is we said someone came in to talk about a problem with a neighbor, and the board suggested this, and this, and that was it. We did not mention that particular person's name.
But if somebody asked, say Melissa, she would have to let them know who it was.
Yes, so that's different.
So it's still
right. So no, but that's different, because if somebody specifically asks or wants to see the recording, then they should be able to do that. But just for for somebody's kicks to get to go on the website and listen to the C-SPAN version of Monterey, I don't know. Again, I'm just thinking about that. In that particular case, that individual may not have come to select board and had that discussion with us, may have decided to take matters into their own hands, either legally or in some fashion. So in this particular case, I think that we did the service that we're supposed to. But again, yeah, there's going to be other cases that after this COVID is done and people are actually coming into town hall, there'll be other cases like that. So that is the reason why I'm not going to support it.
So Steve, I have a question for you. So if somebody comes in and you are making meeting minutes, aren't you supposed to say who said what, their name and everything else?
No, actually, no. Minutes are, it's my understanding of minutes are so that people can get the gist of what was going on. So if we said a neighbor came in, a person came in and had this issue with their neighbor, and the board said this, and this, but we did not specify the person. Now, obviously, we'd list all the people that were in attendance. People can put two and two together, but I guess the point is that at least it had some modicum of respect for people's as much privacy as possible. Now, I understand it's a gray area, and I can understand that there's some people that just want to sit around and watch, what's going on here, but I'm telling you that
isn't that called transparency?
I think so.
Transparency. I mean, what? Yes, I mean, we try to assist a town resident who is having a difficulty, without it splashing it all over the. Yes, I was perfectly comfortable with that.
I tell you what, I think it also will benefit. It will benefit people from acting out, and I think it keeps the officials in line, because you're being videoed. You're not gonna, like in years past, shouting and screaming and yelling. I mean, if you know you're being on the record and it's a public record, you're not going to start misbehaving, and that's going to tampen that right down, I think.
Yeah, I would think a person's character would prevent them from.
So, are we done with discussing, or do we need input? More input? Anybody? Susan? No.
I see Steve's point. I think there's value to keeping the recordings. My issue comes with, there are things that are not private. Clearly, an open meeting is not a private venue.
Correct.
I have a problem with modern conceptions of spreading of information because it is so often being used to spread misinformation and to, I've seen people take video clips and make it presented in a way where it actually is the opposite of what happened. Like, that's a common YouTube occurrence, right? So the fact that something is recorded doesn't necessarily mean it's accurate. And I'm concerned about seeing what's happened on the Google group in the last year. I've been pretty appalled at the spread of misinformation and invective to the point where I'm embarrassed about it. I've had people from other towns come up to me and comment on that. That's kind of horrific. So just because something is out there doesn't mean it's a good thing. All of that said, it's hard. Yeah, if somebody really wants to know what's going on, they should be going to the meetings. But it is a public meeting, and having a record of the meeting is a protection for the people who were present. Because if you are misrepresented, in a sense, that recording is actually proof of what occurred if it's preserved.
Okay. I also looked at the Egremont site, and I'm looking at it right now, and they have Zoom links of past meetings for the Transportation Committee, Select Board, Finance Committee, Town Hall, Campus Development, Planning. I mean, there's a full page of Zoom meeting links. So they do have, their transparency compared to ours is like night and day.
Is that the recordings of the Zoom meetings or the invitation to the Zoom meeting?
Oh, it's a Zoom meeting link of the recordings. It's Zoom. It's one of the captions on the town of Egremont, Massachusetts town webpage, homepage says Zoom recordings. You click that on, and there's a whole thing. They give you the passcode, Transportation Committee, Select Board. They give you the passcode so you can go watch it. And that's what I'd like to do. And I think it's appropriate. And I think the benefits greatly outweigh any type of sinister.
It does say at the top of the page that the recordings are available for 30 days after the meeting date. But I suspect that's a storage issue.
Right. And you can probably download those once you click onto them. So my vote is yes.
So we are taking a vote now?
Well, we were in the discussion phase, yeah.
Yeah, well, I just want to make sure that Steve, or
Yeah.
the appropriate procedures.
Because it was seconded, wasn't it seconded?
Yes, Justin
Second.
seconded.
Justin, you seconded. So, all right. So I vote no.
I vote yes.
I'm going to table the discussion about going to Zoom because I think it's, that's going to be another hour-long discussion apparently.
Item number 7. Oh, I'm sorry, John. This is yours to present.
7 is about the procedures of. I guess I'm going to write to the Open Meeting Law Division and find out about this. I still think that documents need to be presented before the meeting, 2 days, business days before the meeting, so we can look at it and make our, if there's edits, you can't send them to me at 3:00 in the afternoon because I'm not going to have time to look at them. And, it's just, and it doesn't say that on the agenda. So it says discussion, and then all of a sudden I find out, well, edits have been done. Well, you can't have it both ways. The stay of
So,
the meeting documents is just, it doesn't work.
so we're
Don't
talking
put
about
it
two
in front
different
like
things, kind of?
Hmm?
Are we talking about two different things? One is sending documents within the 48 hours before a meeting, and the other is seeing if we can have access to the edited documents from other select board members.
What I'm saying is all documents that we are going to be discussing or edited should be sent to us 48 hours before the meeting, business hours. 2 days before we should have access to the documents. And if they sent within the 48 hours, they don't get discussed at the meeting. There's no way you can look at a document and have an intelligent conversation about the topics in the document if it's sent to me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's just
So if we're sent a document 2 days before the meeting, and then we make edits on it, and now we're a day before the meeting, and whether or not even sharing those edits is legal, should those edits be then shared? That would be a day within the meeting.
I don't think they should.
So what would happen then is documents should be sent out 5 or 6 days before the meeting. Edits are made, and then those edits should be resent if that's legal within at least 2 days before the meeting.
Right.
And so there would be three. There would be the Weingold, Weiss, and Maycook additions, and you would get all three of those.
Yes, I would say.
So you're talking about a process of setting edited and modified documents 5 days. So in other words, after we leave this meeting, you're basically going to have 2 days to start sending out documents.
No, I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying, as a courtesy to us, how can you intelligently discuss something that you haven't seen or you've seen? I mean, people work. 3 o'clock, I get a document. I have no time to look at that and do my job and then come and say, yeah, I mean, who does that? No one goes to a meeting with documents presented the day of the meeting. No one does.
So John, you participated in the select board during the budget process. Those documents, almost all of those documents, were produced or delivered less than 48 hours in advance for very specific reasons, because it was a melding of what's coming from the finance committee and the select board. There are other occasions where we don't meet the 48-hour criteria. I can understand it. It's very good to make that rule, but in practicality, sometimes, of course, nobody wants to send a document an hour before a meeting. I don't like to get a document, and what generally, if I get a document an hour before the meeting or a couple hours before the meeting, I'm going to push to table it. If I don't have a chance to read it, I'm not going to vote on something I haven't read. So no, that's perfectly understandable and reasonable. But in general, to make a rule about the document has to be sent 5 days, and then you've got 3 days to make your edits and whatever. It just doesn't work in practicality. You won't be able to make those deadlines. And then what are you going to do? Have an argument about it? Will you just miss the deadline, or you didn't miss the deadline? It's turning this, it's not, again, it doesn't work in practicality. We're going to try to. We should try to get the documents 48 hours before. I think everybody should make a good attempt to do that. But to come up with a rule that is not going to be able to be enforced or applied, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, see, I'm not an original thinker. I mean, this thought didn't just come like out of my imagination. I took this rule from the town of Great Barrington. They had this rule.
Yeah,
The select board does not review documents unless it's produced 48 hours before the meeting or it gets tabled to the next meeting, because you just can't comment on it. I mean, it's not my idea. Other boards are doing it. And I understand you don't like following rules. You don't like following procedures. It's all whatever. But it'd be a good idea if you want some intelligent, meaningful conversation about something that's contained in a document, that it be provided, 2 days before a meeting. That's all I'm saying. And I think the board should.
Yeah, well,
I
think we should try to do that. Yes, of course we should try to do that. But
it should be a rule.
But if you make But if you make it 40 hours or 36 hours or 27 hours before a meeting and it's something that we need to have a discussion on, then I think it should be accepted. You know? Just because it didn't make the 48-hour deadline. I'm not walking around with an egg.
I think we've talked about this at least twice before. It's
Yeah.
in the select board procedures document. And I agree with what I wrote in there, which is that documents with not accepted within 48 hours of the meeting shall be deferred till the next meeting, unless it's time urgent and all members agree that it should be talked about. If you don't feel like you're ready because the document wasn't sent early enough, table it. That's what I did last meeting, and I'm totally happy with people tabling things that we haven't had appropriate time to look at.
That's Dennis's letter of support. We're going to get one of the letters, one of the documents from that letter of support was just sent to, I believe, sent to all of us. I think because it was late. But I don't want to table the 319 letter of support because of that document not being in within the 48-hour threshold. Am I correct?
Well, everyone's got their opinion. Maybe Justin's right. Maybe it's in the procedures already. So.
Okay.
Well, we obviously haven't approved that procedures document, so
we're still working.
Not binding on anyone, but we've talked about it, and I think we're all on the same page that, or more or less, of the earlier we can get documents, the better. And if there's not enough time, table it, and everyone will understand that's the right thing to do in that case.
Okay.
That's reasonable.
All right. Number 8.
The minutes. I mean, this has just been I don't know. It was like I was at a different meeting. I mean, those minutes from 519, the first draft, I mean, I don't know. And I think the transcripts will help resolve this and the recordings that are going to be posted. I used to go and listen to the recordings and then I would submit my edits to the minutes and it was just like, well, too bad. These minutes have to start getting more accurate and, we've got to do something about the minutes. I mean,
generally minutes are produced to give a reader the gist of what was discussed at a meeting. We've tried various boards to try to make them more succinct. It is a fine line because on one hand, if you make it too succinct, you have a very long document with a lot of information that may or may not be relevant. On the other hand, if you make it less so, which is actually the recommendation of some of these various organizations, it's hard to understand what actually happened in a meeting. So it is not an exact science. I think Melissa's been doing a good job on them, and that's one of the reasons why they're sent out to the boards, to the select board members to make their changes, and I think that's been working fine as well.
I think, John, if obviously I've had edits to the minutes because we've seen them because I've sent them in and we've talked about them. I think, John, if you think the minutes are not going well, it might, Melissa, I think as town administrator, has a lot on her plate, overseeing all the employees in town, and I guess I haven't consulted her, but I would like to. Maybe it would be something that we could have someone else do. I know other boards have other people do their minutes, like a clerk or someone to write that up. And that way also Melissa would be freed up to focus on what we're talking about and chime in
right
when necessary. So I don't know. That's something that maybe Melissa has thoughts on or after the meeting, but I maybe see what
The whole
she thinks
process,
about that.
the whole process too, it seems that, Melissa's taking down the minutes and listening. And I don't know anybody that can multitask. And you can't concentrate on typing and listening, So I think the transcript is going to help everyone
I look at, well, so
because,
she'll have access to the
you can't honestly say, Justin, that those 519 meeting minutes, the first draft, was anything close to what that meeting was. Come on.
Well, you've seen
Be
the
honest
first
with me.
draft, and you can see my edits, and that's the
I
edits
don't
that
see your
I made.
edits. I don't get your edits. I
Well,
don't see
those
your
would
edits. I don't know what you
those would
edited
be
in the minutes.
my approved
I
edits.
I don't see Steve's or your edits ever. So I don't know what you said. I don't know what you edited in the 519 minutes.
Okay, well, I sent in track changes, and I think part of it is again an open meeting law, a requirement to follow the open meeting law, why we can't be sending minutes back and forth, and why
Why
we
not?
send
We're
them
not
just to
deliberating
Melissa.
about them. See, that's where, I get why everyone's hesitant, but if I don't see anybody's edits, and you don't see mine. So I mean, how is that like?
Did you have any edits on this one, John?
I sent it in. She couldn't open it. Remember?
On 519?
I thought that was the HR document.
No, the HR she could open. The minutes she couldn't open because it was a Word document or a Word Perfect document. But I don't know. You guys don't want to follow that one? That's
Don't want to follow what, John?
It just. I like your recommendation. Maybe someone. I don't know. I don't think someone should be typing the minutes while the meeting's going on. I don't know how you can type, listen, and participate without.
I don't think that's I don't think if she's able to make the minutes the way she does it is I don't think it's us to tell her that she cannot do it that way.
Well, I'm not trying to say that she
humanly
can't.
impossible.
I'm not trying to say that she can't do it, and I would like to consult her. Unfortunately, I didn't before this meeting, but as we know, as town administrator, she has overseeing a lot of people and grants and stuff like that, and she also is knowledgeable on a lot of the things that we are talking about in these meetings, and often should chime in and does chime in. And I would, if it frees her up to participate in our meetings, then, and it's as simple as hiring someone, once a week or once a meeting, and the funds are there. I'm not sure. I haven't looked into this, but if it makes sense for Melissa and it makes sense for us.
So I would make a suggestion that the board members, okay, I don't know who has me on speaker over there, but I would make a suggestion that the board members sit down with the town administrator and have that discussion with her. And so she can walk them through what she does, and perhaps we can come up with some recommendations.
For what?
To help make her job easier, and so that the minutes are going to be more succinct, if that is the goal.
No, the motivation is to make the minutes accurate. Because a person that doesn't attend the meeting, the standard for minutes is a person that did not attend the meeting has to be able to read the minutes and have a general understanding of what happened.
That's right.
And what was said.
That's exactly it. That's perfect. That's right. You're right. You're 100% right. That's exactly the definition of what minutes are.
Correct.
Yes, and again, it's not this is not an exact science. I've been through we tried very different permutations of this, and if you go back into Monterey, into various select boards, you're going to read various takes on the minutes, and some of them are very, very wordy, and include people's extraneous things, and some of them are not detailed at all. The idea is you want to get somewhere in between.
I don't think that's what John's talking about, Steve,
No.
about how detailed the minutes are now. I could be wrong. It seems to me he's saying that the minutes are inaccurate, not that they're.
Yeah, there. The 519 minutes didn't have anything about the discussion about the policies about contacting town council. We talked about that for half an hour. John Silbert chimed in. Susan chimed in. Nothing. Justin made the motion about the dump stickers. It was supposed to be for everyone. And the minutes come out and it's just for the one person. It's totally inaccurate what was put in the minutes.
I
And
think
why
one.
do I have to go back? And so we have to solve the problem.
Well, I
And
think
the
one thing
problem
is
is
that
hiring somebody to
one
do
thing
it.
is that Melissa was involved in those discussions, and she had important things that were very helpful to the discussion because she has the context and the knowledge. So I just think maybe if we could get someone to do the minutes so that Melissa can help us in her capacity as TA, that might be something to look into. But talk with her first,
well,
obviously, see what she thinks.
once I would, Betty, I'm sorry, Betty, you had your hand up and I didn't recognize you. Do you want to say something? No. Okay. Never mind. She put her hand down. Okay, moving on.
Number 9.
Yeah. Let's move on.
Well, I think we should develop some town administrator procedures. I mean, we seem to be doing a lot of procedures for ourselves, but where are the procedures for the town administrator? I think we should start developing some procedures with respect. And one of the things that should be included in that procedures is the vacation. I mean, yeah, I understand people are entitled to vacations, but I don't know.
John.
Well, can I just finish my thought?
Sure.
The grant was due, the Massworks grant is due on Friday, and vacation, and then Thursday and Friday apparently there's another vacation that she's taking, but we're just told when vacations. I mean, I don't know too many employers that just the employee just says, I'm taking this day off, if we had someone to cover, that'd be great. But, I don't know. I think there's something's got to be worked out.
Let me know when you're done.
I'm done.
Okay.
On that point.
So, the town of Monterey has a procedure for all employees who would like to take vacations. They put in a recommendation. It's a written recommendation, a written request, and select board members come into town hall, go into the file, and read those requests, and then sign them. That is a procedure that includes a town administrator. I personally signed the request, and I believe Justin signed the request as well. And it's one of the reasons why it's extremely important to come to town hall, because you would be able to go into that folder and look at all the requests for all the different employees and for their vacation.
Why aren't those sent to us electronically?
Ken?
Got to get in my horse and buggy and go down to town hall?
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
You had exactly what you had.
It's my fault. Okay.
I wouldn't quite.
What file do I ask for?
But that's another reason why it's important to get into town hall, to go into that folder. It has that. It has a number of, if there's ever any correspondence or there's permits for docs and such. It's a C-SPAN version of to use Justin's phrase. But it is important because then you get to see all these things, and you do sign off on people's vacation time so that you know that when they're going to be on vacation, and while you're there, signing the warrant would be a good thing as well. We had this discussion previously.
Why don't they just send it to us electronically? What's the problem?
So we're gonna
Do we not have a scanner at town hall? Is there?
going to scan, so we cannot send people's personal letters, we scan them around to the individual select board members? Why would we want to do that? Why would you want to do that?
Terry Walker has to put it in writing and you have to approve it at a select board meeting. Why doesn't everybody else?
That
Everybody,
is incorrect. Terry Walker actually fills it out and puts it in the mailbox just like everybody else does.
But that is brought up at a select board meeting to approve.
That's because she chooses to do some of her time off when she doesn't give 2 weeks notice like she's supposed to. When she does a 2 day before or 1 day before request, that's when it comes up at a select board meeting, when the select board hasn't had a chance to come in and look at the mail.
right, but since
So it's in the mail.
we're talking specifically right now about the town administrator, and the town administrator is following a procedure that the town adopted, that the previous select board had adopted. And if you want to know when the town administrator is going on vacation, come into town hall, look
I just
and
find it on the website. That's fine. Okay, that's good. Good to know. Why isn't the town job administrator, there's job description on the website when everyone else's is?
What?
Steve?
What?
Why isn't the town administrator job description on the town website with other employees?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Well, then I make a motion that the town administrator job description be posted on the town website.
I don't even know. Is there a complete town administrator job description that we have?
Well, if you had read the contract, you might know the answer to that question.
Yeah, well, I actually did read the contract, John.
Well, you didn't read the job description that was attached to it, apparently.
Well, I actually did.
Okay, well then you would know the answer to that.
Then if it exists, we'll put it up there.
So, is there a second to that?
What is the,
That the town administrator job description be posted on the website along with all the other employees' job descriptions.
I guess I'm not familiar with where the other employees' job descriptions are on the website. I just don't know the facts about this.
Oh my God.
I mean, if every job description of every employee in town is on the website and it's missing one job description, which may be because it's the most recent job that was hired, then yeah, I think it should be added.
I'm like trying to roll the bowler up a hill on these like simple little issues. I don't understand what the problem is.
I'm sorry, John, but I only saw in the agenda post a TA job description on the website, so I didn't know what the context is or have time to.
I'm told that it will be done.
I'm putting it up right now, but John, this is one of those things that if you just came in and brought it to my attention that it's the one missing, we wouldn't have to have this strained conversation. I would immediately know, put it up there.
Not a big deal.
All right, exactly. So why are we spending 20 minutes on every little point? I don't understand that
So
either.
John, the next thing that you'd like to talk about, the next thing on the agenda.
Yeah, I wanted an update on the fire department self-contained breathing apparatus grant update. I'd like an update.
So the government is a month behind. We are told that it's likely we won't hear something until the beginning of July.
And where did the grant writer give us an accounting of the $1,000 we spent for his grant writing?
He has not submitted an invoice yet.
And you'll distribute that when it comes in, I hope?
It'll be a part of the warrant that you sign with the bills.
Right. Okay.
It will be a vendor warrant, Melissa?
Correct.
Okay, great.
And could you tab it, Melissa, so that we can easily find it?
And what's the status on the Massworks grant application?
Sean and I will be meeting tomorrow morning. to submit it.
So Terry didn't write the grant?
Nope, Terry said what I wrote was excellent, and she only had to add a few things.
The group effort.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, that's 13. I mean, I want an understanding of what the grant writers' roles are in town and how that, I mean, it seems to me that we have grant writers. You know, at the annual meeting, they bumped up from 7,500 to 10,000. So the grant writers who have the expertise should be getting help from the town employees, not the grant writer helping the town employees to write grants. And I think that's a problem. And I think this process needs to be cleared up. And, you know, I think you and Sean were supposed to be helping Terry complete the grant. She's got the experience. She had the know-how. She's gotten a grant.
John.
You asking Terry to do the thing over the weekend, it makes no sense to me.
So you have misinformation, John, and I'd be more than happy to talk about it with you because Terry and I had a very nice conversation today about how she was pressured by some outside sources to send the letter that she sent, and that she actually did not mean the stuff that she wrote in there. We didn't really want to get into that because Terry and I have a good understanding of what happened and where items may have went wrong. And we came together as a team and finished it. And we're not about trying to tear this town hall apart, whereas some of you are.
Okay. All right. So the other thing also to consider is the following: is that you have a town administrator who is essentially supervising all this grant writing, and will write grants as well. That was actually one of the reasons why people wanted to get a town administrator, because of that town administrator's ability to write grants. So in this particular case, we're very lucky. We have several folks that are writing grants, and as John, as you mentioned, that at town meeting, which would have been really great if you'd been there to vote on it. They did raise it from $7,500 to 10,000. So we do have money. We do have a team in place now. It's not just Melissa. It's not just Dennis. Hopefully we could talk to Terry about participating more, because I think she's a real talent. But also Sean's involved as well. And we put together, I think we're starting to put together a very good grant writing team, and that essentially is what's going to make it successful.
Well, there's the term overseeing or supervising. I mean, so in this instance, supervising means that Melissa's actually writing the grant. But under normal circumstances, if you have a grant writer, the grant writer writes the grant. So all I'm trying to determine is what are the roles of both parties? Because if the grant writer feels, I mean, she resigned. I don't know why. I don't, who pressured her. I don't know anything about that. But, I mean, if you can't do your job, I mean, I don't, and we had to have an emergency meeting
to get
this all straightened out. And then everybody's like, oh, I didn't mean it. Everything's fine. Well, okay.
The goal is, ladies and gentlemen, to get grants approved for the town of Monterey.
Yeah, and that's why we have grant writers.
Right. Whether one person writes the grant, two people write the grant, or three people write the grant, or they all team up, they work together, or they do certain parts of it, which has always been the case. The idea is to get it done. I think
I'm glad it's done.
Much to Melissa's credit, I think she's worked out a partnership with Terry and Sean to get this Massworks grant perfected to the point where we've got a very good chance to rebuild a Beartown, which needs it badly. I personally, I don't care who writes the grant as long as we get it. And I don't believe either Dennis or Terry believe that they must be the only person involved. So Melissa's got a team together. It's one of the reasons why I was confident that she'd be able to solve whatever was going on over here, and it got solved, and we're going to put it in, and hopefully we'll get the grant. And then
I will say, Steve, I'm very happy that the Massworks grant seems like it went well from the updates that I got, and I appreciate Melissa and Sean and Terry for all working on it. I will say that it wasn't a smooth process for whatever reasons, and I don't know. I frankly don't know what the reasons were, but it did get done, and I'm really grateful for everyone who worked on it, especially Melissa, who stepped up when Terry resigned um, on Friday. But it was not smooth, and I think it caused a lot of people a lot of headache. We had an emergency meeting, and I know only two select board members attended that meeting, but I think for whatever reasons it didn't go smoothly, and maybe, like you said, there's a team assembled. Um, if we could make a procedure that will cause less of a headache in the future, while still, getting the team to work on the grant, I'm totally on your page. I want, the best team that can be assembled. I don't think it should be like one person or the other person. We want the best chance that we can at the grant, but if there's some procedure so that the communication could happen clearly and that we don't have what we had this time, I would like to participate in making that procedure.
I think it's the best thing that we can do is all right. Well, somebody's out there reverberating. I mean, I love to hear myself speak, but not this time. I think the first thing we can do is it's really about communication. Justin, I know I came to town hall today to sign the warrant because I was out of town. I had a brief discussion with Terry privately, and I think communication is the key. So it's less of a, these are the rules and regulations. It's more like, constantly, I think especially when you're as dedicated as I believe Melissa is, and as Terry is, and as Sean is, you've got a lot of dedicated people, so emotions tend to run high. And the Massworks grant is a very stressful item because, you're putting it's all or nothing on a $1 million grant. So there's even last time there was a lot of when we did Blue Hill, there was, I wouldn't say it was the smoothest process in the world. Again, there are a lot of emotions when it comes to these types of things. So
I agree that communication is key, Steve, and I was in communication with everyone who was working, or all three of those people who were working on the grant a lot, and I was happy to do it, and maybe more than I wish I had been, to try to problem solve. And I believe that procedures could help those lines of communications earlier and more often to prevent catastrophe where a lot of communication is needed. So I'm totally on your page. I think communication is great. I think sometimes procedures that are set in place or just habits, if they form, can help aid that communication. I think people had misconceptions that resulted from miscommunications. And I'm just wondering if a procedure could help solve it, because I was communicating a lot with those people.
okay.
And,
Well, I think procedures would be a good idea because then everyone knows, and then the communication. We need to have some type of procedures, and we're not going to do it tonight, obviously, because it's getting late. But I mean, yeah, procedures are what needs to be followed, so everyone knows what lane of travel they're in.
Okay.
And then there is no miscommunications, and there's no misconceptions of what their roles are. But if without some type of policy defining what each person is expected of, I mean,
Nancy, you have your hand up?
I did. I was just a little confused because Justin said he didn't know why Terry resigned. So, I mean, I don't know why she resigned, but there had to be some sort of strong reason for her to resign. That's all.
what I'm saying, Nancy, what I'm saying is that I don't know the facts of everything that happened. I have spoken to Sean and Melissa and Terry, so I have some clues, but I have not been able to get down to the facts for whatever reason. And so I'm not going to make any claims about that, about who it was or what it was.
Okay, so
I'm not ready to do that, but I think we're all in agreement that good communication and good procedures can be
She must have been really upset to resign.
right.
So,
So
I don't know.
Well, she did send us an email, so that's probably a public record. So
Okay, no big deal. Hopefully we get the grant.
yeah, right.
I think that
Given the late hour, I'm willing to table these remaining things to the next meeting. We're here 2 hours already. So I make a motion to table the remaining
12 to
17.
23 or 12 to 22.
12 to 22, because 23 would be the last thing.
Or we could discuss 12. I mean, it's just an update. Green communities, what's going on with that?
So we had to have a revisit for the heating systems, and we are still waiting on a energy report for that. We also, I have some amended motor vehicle policy that you'll have to look at and accept. There's no rush. None of the monies can be applied for or spent until next year. So
Good.
And what's the total? Is it like 125,000 that we could get possibly?
sorry, I don't have that figure off the top of my head.
I thought it was a little bit more. I thought it was 150. But do we have to take possession of, let's say, the new cruiser, the hybrid cruiser, or is it just because we ordered it is enough? Melissa, do you know the answer to that?
I don't off the top of my head. There's a whole calculation that's going to go into the percentages that we need to meet to become compliant and be a green community. They're going to actually have to come up with a proposal of items that I'm sure the car is going to count towards something, but we're also going to have to upgrade. We can choose between the lighting, the heating, all things that will hopefully lower our energy bills.
Okay. Great. So there's a motion on the floor to table items 13 through 22. Second.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on that?
No.
Okay.
I vote yes.
John votes yes. Justin?
I vote yes.
Okay. I vote yes. And then we're just going to go to item number 23 with just general comments and questions from the public. Or people can say they had a good Memorial Day weekend. Anything? Hillel? Nothing? Squeeze out something? Nope. Mickey? No. Anyway. Okay. There being no comments or questions from the public, I move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes,
Yes.
for me.
Okay. We'll see
Good
you
night.
night. See you in 2 weeks. Bye.